December 5, 1945, 2 p.m. 5 U.S. Navy bombers take off from Fort Lauderdale for a simple training mission known as Flight 19. The weather was sunny, and their path was clear: fly east, practice bombing over coral reefs, pass Grand Bahama Island, then return to base. The mission was led by Lieutenant Charles Taylor, a pilot with over 2,500 flight hours. Everything seemed normal, until about an hour and 45 minutes later, when Taylor's worried voice came over the radio. "We can't see land. I think we're lost." The control tower tried to reach him, but the signal kept cutting out. Then another pilot added, "We can't find west, everything is wrong, even the ocean looks strange." Eventually, for unknown reasons, Taylor handed command over to another pilot. And after that, no one ever heard from Flight 19 again. No planes. No wreckage. No clues. They vanished in one of the most mysterious places on Earth, the Bermuda Triangle. What really happened? Where did Flight 19 go? The last message received by the control tower was from a pilot saying, "We don't know where we are, nothing makes sense, we might be 225 miles northeast of base." Then came a strange final sentence. "It feels like we've entered white water, we're completely lost." The control tower, realizing the emergency, quickly sent 2 rescue planes to the last known position. But just 10 minutes later, both rescue planes disappeared too. Within 30 minutes, 6 aircraft had vanished without a trace off the coast of Florida. In the days that followed, the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard searched a 250,000 square mile area of ocean with dozens of planes and ships. They found nothing: no wreckage, no clues, no sign of the 27 crew members. Flight 19 became just one of many unexplained disappearances in a region now called the Bermuda Triangle. But why? Why do so many strange things happen in this one area? Years later, researchers suggested the problem might have been with Taylor's compass. Apparently, his compass wasn't working properly, and he believed he was flying over the Florida Keys. So, he ordered the group to fly northeast, thinking they'd hit the Florida coast. In reality, they were above Grand Bahama Island, which from the air looks similar to the Florida Keys. Some pilots realized the mistake and wanted to turn west, but Taylor insisted the right direction was northeast. In the end, a mix of confusion, compass failure, and wrong decisions led Flight 19 to vanish forever into the ocean. Taylor finally accepted that their course was wrong and told the pilots to turn west to reach Florida. But the problem was Flight 19 had already drifted far from land, and their fuel was running low. A few minutes later, Taylor changed his mind again and ordered them to head northeast. Now they were completely confused and, without a proper route, their fuel ran out. Most likely, they crashed somewhere near Abaco Island, and all 14 crew members vanished. Meanwhile, witnesses on nearby ships reported seeing a distant explosion. That blast was probably from one of the rescue planes because those aircraft models had fuel leak issues, and it's believed they exploded mid-air. But here's the question: why did most pilots' compasses fail? In the Bermuda Triangle, many sailors and pilots complained about their compasses malfunctioning. Because in this region, compasses point to the geographic North Pole instead of the magnetic North Pole. The distance between these two poles is about 1,200 miles, which can seriously disrupt navigation. Research suggests the source of this interference might be an extinct underwater volcano that formed the island of Bermuda millions of years ago. This volcano produced large amounts of basalt rock containing iron and magnetite, the strongest natural magnetic material. It's estimated that around 500 billion tons of magnetite exist in this area, causing compass deviations. Scientists found this magnetic effect extends up to 200 miles from Bermuda and can deflect compasses by up to 10 degrees. However, some believe this magnetic anomaly is just part of the story, and other mysterious reasons still remain unexplained. One popular theory about plane disappearances involves sudden methane gas eruptions from the ocean floor. When methane is rapidly released from the seabed, it can cause ships to sink or planes to crash. A case supporting this theory is the crash of the Star Tiger in 1948. This plane belonged to British South American Airways and was operated by former World War II pilots. It was one of the first passenger planes flying between Europe and South America. On January 28, the Star Tiger took off from Lisbon, Portugal, and stopped at Santa Maria in the Azores to refuel. At that time, storms were reported in parts of the Atlantic Ocean, so Captain Macmillan decided to stay one more night in Santa Maria. The next day, although strong winds remained, there was no sign of a storm. So the captain decided to continue the flight toward Bermuda. Captain Macmillan decided to fly the plane at a very low altitude of 2,000 feet to avoid the strong winds present at higher altitudes. At 3:15 a.m., he contacted Bermuda's air traffic control and confirmed the plane's position and estimated time of arrival. The plane was expected to arrive around 5 a.m. But when the control tower called again at 3:50 a.m., there was no response. Further attempts around 4:40 a.m. also failed, and an emergency was declared. The U.S. Air Force in Bermuda quickly launched a search operation, but no trace or contact with the captain or plane was found. A massive search involving 26 military aircraft was conducted, flying a total of 882 hours over the Atlantic Ocean looking for the Star Tiger, but nothing was discovered. One theory suggests that a sudden methane gas eruption from the ocean floor caused the incident. Methane gas, usually trapped as methane hydrates beneath the seabed, can be released under certain conditions like underwater earthquakes or warming of the seabed. When this gas suddenly enters the water, it makes the water lighter and frothy. This frothy water can no longer support the weight of ships, causing them to sink rapidly. For airplanes, a methane gas explosion in the air can ignite their engines. Since Captain Macmillan was flying at a low altitude, it's more likely that a methane gas explosion damaged the plane's engines. Methane eruptions in the Bermuda Triangle tend to sink ships more often than causing plane engine fires. Another possibility is that Captain Macmillan forgot he was flying at a very low altitude of about 2,000 feet but told the control tower he was at 20,000 feet. This confusion might have caused the plane to crash into the sea. In 1948, a DC-3 plane at San Juan, Puerto Rico, was preparing to fly to Miami. The captain reported that the landing gear light was not on and the battery was weak but decided to recharge the battery during the flight. The plane's radio was also malfunctioning and could only receive messages. After charging the radio, the plane took off at 10:03 p.m. and was instructed to stay close to the airport until contact with Miami was established, but the plane disappeared. In 1948, communication systems were designed so that airplanes could stay in contact with multiple airports simultaneously, especially important for Captain Lindquist, whose radio was malfunctioning. The plane circled near San Juan Airport for about 11 minutes before finally establishing two-way communication with Miami's control tower. At 11:23 p.m., the captain reported his position. The plane was at 8,300 feet, en route to Miami. Strangely, the radio signal was not picked up by the closer San Juan Airport but instead was received in New Orleans, over 600 miles away. Miami Airport tried to contact the plane but received no response. The plane never arrived in Miami, and no trace of it or the 31 people on board was ever found. Extensive searches by the Navy and Coast Guard turned up nothing. One theory suggests the battery problem reoccurred, causing the radio and navigation instruments to fail. This left the pilots unable to communicate or determine their exact location. Flying at night over open ocean made matters worse, and the plane likely crashed into the sea due to navigational errors and running out of fuel. Many believe the real cause behind airplane disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle isn't magnetic anomalies or methane eruptions, but severe storms and hurricanes. These storms typically start near the west coast of Africa, where warm, humid ocean air meets the hot, dry desert air, creating unstable weather and violent storms. These hurricanes then travel with ocean currents and global winds toward the Bermuda Triangle, growing stronger as they pass over warm, moist air. By the time they reach the triangle, they have traveled over 1,000 miles and become extremely powerful. Upon reaching land, the storms gradually weaken as the moisture decreases. The exact number of missing planes is hard to determine, but estimates suggest between 50 and 100 planes have vanished in the area over the past century. Most of these incidents were due to navigational errors before GPS existed in severe storms. Climate change and rising sea levels might also alter the size and shape of the Bermuda Triangle in the future, impacting ocean behavior even more. If you enjoyed these Bermuda Triangle mysteries, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video so we can explore more mysterious stories together. I'm looking forward to reading your comments.